What advice would you give to someone who's trying to find their passion? Let your passion come to you. Passion is like food. You know, you wouldn't know your favorite food unless you tried like different foods. So passion could just come to you from some random shit. Like, I'm gonna be honest, and you just gotta keep taking care of yourself. You gotta keep grinding on stability until then. I just think it's bad for your life if you just can't do something unless you're passionate about it. I'm gonna be honest. Coaim, I appreciate the 19 months.
Yo bro, how can you determine what parts of your program to include women in? Dojo to the moon.
We mean what parts? We mean parts of the program. Appreciate the 19 months though, but it's really a deeper answer to that, right? Because I feel as though, I'm gonna be honest. Anything I do, it has to include even when I was working random jobs, I just did that because I like keeping money in my pockets and I don't like asking people for shit. But I knew with my career or job or place I'd be spending a long term, including this, or even when it was the neurosurgeon thing, I knew I would not be fulfilled unless it had multiple purposes wrapped into it. For example, the neurosurgeon thing. I was passionate about math and science, and I was really good at both. So that's the skill wise, and it pays a lot. Okay, that's the support for it. But at the end of the day, one of the main purposes in it was that, being from where I'm from, it would have meant everything for me to see a black man as a doctor or a lawyer or something of some status, and coming from a ghetto spot, somebody that looked like me, tatted up, ghetto as shit. I would have loved to see that. So I wanted to embody that, to be influenced back on my old neighborhood, on my city and all that. That's what I wanted. That was a big part of that purpose. And now I get to do that for this and connect with people now. God willing, I was able to do this on such a platform on a wide scale and places in the world that I never imagined I would. This just kind of happened. So, but the reason I say all that is because if you're that kind of person where having a purpose and impacting other people's lives is important to you, you got to put that in part of your plan. It was no way I was going to be able to make a plan unless it involved that. No way I was going to have a career, job, long-term thing. No way it was not going. I couldn't do it. I would have probably been miserable, unhappy. I wouldn't have been living true to myself. So if you got to do that, to figure it out. I get a good text game. Your texting game is not separate from your mouthpiece in person, bro. It's not. It's not at all. It's not at all. Hey, Tom, recently had to cut a girl off because we got into an argument and she got disrespectful. I'm not mad. Her just decided to not be in touch. But we have a lot in common. Friends in a close circle, and we're often at the same parties, events. How do I deal with the awkwardness when we're at the same location? I'm not biting my tongue no more. Who gives a f? You are a weird person. If the foundation of your relationship prior to even having sex or being intimate had no type of respect or had no type of cordialness, then what the fuck are you doing as a man? I could be completely around somebody I currently want to and still be cool and still be social, still be, hey, how y'all doing, man, and chop it up and have fun and out at the event. It may be a little tension, but I don't have to transform. Like, nothing about me has to transform. I'm always the same person. So why are you being weird to where it's like now you coming around, it's like, I just don't see that happening if you being authentic, bro. I just don't see that happening. You know what I'm saying? That's why you didn't get to go to the whatever party. Remember you say you need to be outside. I'd be conflicted, bro. Like, half of me want to make connections and be cool with everybody. And first of all, that sound like again. But another half of me just want to do what the fuck I want to do. Which is why I always stick to my code and my plan. And it's worked out for me, bro. Created my own platform. Ain't suck nobody. Ride nobody wave. I don't have to bend on my knees. I don't look up and say yes to anybody. I can speak my mind and not give a fuck who I offend. I'm appreciative because I've met a lot of solid people in this content stuff. But I got like my own IRL home. I got my own life, chat. Like, I could literally diss somebody or beef with somebody on the internet and it completely wouldn't change my life at all. I would not give a fuck. Like, my ecosystem of my own real life world is so intact Like, I just don't care. I'm not pressed to be around here or do this or go here and do that. With all due respect, I just don't feel no type of urgency to. What would you advise me to tell my bro? He got a major crush on loser. He might have a major crush on this girl that's stressing him out and marring with him mentally. First of all, fuck you. Because what type of grown-ass man says, oh, I'm helping my bro? Let him suffer being a pussy. You can't make no man a man. Low-key introvert with tips on being more social in social situations. Get out of your comfort zone and start talking. Only one way to do that. I would say I came into high school being friendly, like not really being friendly, but I had confidence, right? But being in such a big high school, all girls high school up the street, working different jobs, joining different sports teams, it embraced my comfort zone so much. I feel like you could put me in any situation with any human being, and I just know how to talk because of my exposure, my experience of any age group, any background, any ethnicity. I seen a comment today earlier on YouTube. Somebody said something delusional. It's like, Ty, I remember you said you don't like or don't prefer a white woman, so therefore, can we even trust your game because it only works with black women? First thing I said is, he must not know white women then. Because they, a lot of times, are the easiest woman. Let's be real. White women are, what? And this is what I mean by easy. Let me be specific when I say white women are the easiest women. Being at a PWI and going to high school, I would say my high school population was like 60% white. All you have to do with white women is be friendly. That's literally all that game is being friendly. They don't there's no riz with white people. They just they will literally be friends and then at a party be making out and literally know this word from my high school, making out, hooking up and all that. They will literally be friends as and just super. You would think they act like cousins or brother and sister. They just be friendly, talking shit, talking trash, and then they just be. So first of all, when he said this comment, it was brother, not preferring them is by choice, not because I can't, not because it's difficult I will admit it's a different vibe, which is what I just described completely and simply wrapped it up in that. But my nigga, I got king treatment at my PW. Are you dumb? Are you dumb? Oh my god, it was just such a naive comment. But people got on him in the comments bro, a woman is a woman at the end of the day. I don't shapeshift, bro. And the funny part is, it's okay, your game only work on black women. Brother, don't you know majority of the women I mess with having black, Hispanic? Yo, McLavish, I appreciate the 5 gifted subs. And mind you, bro, it was just such an uneducated comment, right? I'm bro, I mess with educated women with motion, women that are older than me, women who have foreigner parents. She's the first gen of her family that's going to school and tried to go to college and all that. Bro, you could literally categorize any category of a woman, and I've talked to a woman from that category, except white woman. Or you could name some specific shit Ty, you ever mess with a Ugandan? And I was I don't know. But it just was crazy, bro. It just was nerdy woman. Nigga, I went to a college prep high school. If she wasn't a nerd, she was in the minority. Y'all just don't know. I'm really a big nerd on the inside. I'm telling you, my environment, I just was broken out of the hood. I just was broken out of the hood at such a young age that it's just in me. So after that, becoming going into different environments, I didn't get out of mind you, there's no out of that environment period in Philly at all. But my high school was it was such a culture shock to me because it was a college prep school. It wasn't in a good neighborhood at all, but it was around students who parents from better off, not super wealthy and rich. Like you didn't have to pay to get into school, but it was a college prep school. People came in there and I remember, I'll never forget my freshman year, one of my first classes. They went around. They said, "What college do you want to go to, and what program do you want to get in there for?" Do you know all these in the room had answers? I was like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I didn't even know. But the whole time they only had these answers because their parents were doctors, their parents were nurses, their parents owned businesses, their parents had already like nitpicked them to be a certain kind of way. The funny part is when y'all say all this dumbass shit. Oh, what about Latina woman? What about you know, for Indian woman, Asian woman? What about nerdy woman? What about black woman? What about white woman? When you mess with enough women, you realize a woman is a woman. A woman is a woman. You ain't really got game if you are having to sit here and be a chameleon every time you mess with a different woman. You don't have it. You don't got it, bro. Because at the end of the day, you're only as good as you can conform and shape to. A woman is a woman. And yes, at the end of the day, guess where I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you where these differences show up. Now, we are on Twitch, so I gotta slow down for a second. I'm not gonna get like super freaky with it. That's what I'm about to say. I'm about to take like the freak route. This is where these differences come out. A lot of the times, these women know the average person or human being is looking at him from the surface. Oh, he sees I'm a nerd. He sees I'm a lawyer. He sees I'm a cop. He sees I'm the manager at the store. He sees that I'm Asian. He sees that I'm this. They know most people look at him from the surface. He sees that most people think I'm a good girl. I'm having to be a good big sister or a good daughter. I'm getting deep now. All these superficial roles that she's having to play in her everyday life, that when you are a kind of man who is beneath the surface, has substance, is connected with his core, that way you can be consistent with any person. I don't give what country she's from, how old she is, 18 plus obviously, but how old she is, what country she's from, how many languages she speaks, or what her career is. But I know how to connect with who she is beyond the superficial level. That's when I get past that. And that's when you see. Now I took the freaky route because sex can be a very spiritual thing. Why? Because I'm gonna give you a simple answer. It's really one of those spaces where a person could be outstanding citizen, a good mom, a good teacher, a good lawyer, a good principal, but when it comes to sex, not just physically are their clothes off, but they get to take all of that. They get to take all these roles and expectations off. So sex for a lot of people is the place that they get to be the freest. So it's the only place that they have freedom to be who they or what they really want to be. Which, while oftentimes it is being a freak, it is being nasty, it is being they know they should not, or most likely will not be judged here. It's the only place they won't be judged is the bedroom. Unless you're the kind of man who can give them that feeling outside of the bedroom. You know what? I see you for more than your superficial titles, roles, and expectations. I deal with you in a way that is beyond that. Our connection is far greater than what you see and what you expect. And you're not bound and constricted and caged by titles, by roles, by this facade that you have to live by. Because I am not. I'm a man who I do what I want, say what I want. I am who I am, and I choose who I am. I'm not conforming or fitting into any algorithm or any environment which was set for me. There is no expectation of me. Oh, you from the hood, you supposed to be a hood nigga. Says who? Oh, you from the project, you supposed to be a ghetto gangster. Says who? I'm who the fuck I want to be, and I talk how I want. Oh, you a college person, you this, so you supposed to be educated, you supposed to talk proper, you supposed to, says the fuck who, I do what I want. My expectations don't control me, nigga. I have an expectation of myself. Now we getting too deep. I'm gonna stop it right there. But y'all don't be ready for the real answers to some of y'all questions that y'all ask. I kind of took it off the cliff a little bit. I'm gonna dial back. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna dial down a little bit. Nigga said something about nerdy women. Scotty, I appreciate the big 22 months, man.
Love all
I'm gonna stop right there,
Get
brother.
on your grind and stay safe. Dojo to the top gang.
Get move, man. The limiting mindset. Keep going. But this is the thing. This ain't just a copy and paste game, bro. This is deeply mental at this point. Very deeply mental. Very deeply mental. Oh my God. Nigga talking about you're a loser for even categorizing them that like that and thinking it's a difference. And I'll show you what makes them this. What not actually. They'll be unique in a different way, right? And it ain't even just about, the physical, exterior, or external expectation. It'll be more about like what makes her her, what makes her who she is, who she wants to be if she can't or does not feel like she has the freedom to choose to be that version of herself. But really, what really makes her her, and paying attention to that and connecting to her on that level. But you cannot do that. You will not be able to even take heed to what I'm saying on a deeper level or care if you are not that in your own life. How do you know you're not that? As soon as your parents tell you to do something, you are controlled by their expectation or disappointment of you. As soon as your friend group does something, you're afraid to be embarrassed. You're afraid of being ashamed. You're afraid of being judged. You can never do this for another person because you can't even save yourself. Come on, bro. Is this the same reason why I don't take a thug to pull a hood chick? We could change the titles. It don't take a nerd to get a nerd chick. It don't take a lawyer to get a lawyer chick. It don't take a doctor to get a doctor chick. It don't take a lot of times another thing too is just I like what Cam said, a woman's radar. I like how he worded that. A woman's radar. That's a very important thing. Afraid to leave your comfort zone. Exactly. And I imagine, what does this have to do with, oh, Ty, who cares if she's this or she's that? Oh, you have no idea, brother. I can't speak to you from the surface. I just can't. I think I actually, you know what? I think I said this in that Pete Davidson video I was talking about. And I'm like, when he's the Josiah Rid, I appreciate the Twitch Prime sub. Y'all gotta imagine. I think Hollywood is an easy example. When she used to a world, is you mad I got a rich pick up on both lists? When she's in a world, let's take the easiest example to have this kind of conversation. When she's in a world, and by in a world I mean like the circumstances that structure her life. Everybody has a world that they live in. In the world of doctors, you're expected to have a certain kind of car. You're expected to talk a certain kind of way. You're expected to move and act a certain kind of way. In the world of athletes, you're expected to walk, talk, and act a certain kind of way. In the world of whatever world, right, that a person lives in is their world. But there's always like structure and bounds to stay within the box, right? Let's take a very easy, superficial example. Let's just take something like Hollywood, like when I was using the Pete Davidson example. When you live in a world where everybody's too afraid to be exposed, always trying to be perfect, afraid of being judged, trying to have the perfect picture painted of them, right? Just in a world where they just have to be perfect, or they think they have to be, or they feel so controlled by that. We have this one person, he's not the only one, but I'm just using him for example. This one person who comes in this same setting and everyone else is scared to let a button in their shirt be unbuttoned, or scared to have their tie out of place, or they're scared to let their heels click too loud. And you got this one person who comes in the room, his legs are up on the chair, and he's like, what the man? Does what he wants, right? And this could be metaphorical. Does what he wants. But the point is, he does not care or breaks all the rules in the world that he's supposed to be in, or controlled by, right? Or structured by. That is so attractive to a woman. And the funny part is, what do most guys do, or most guys tell y'all to do? They tell y'all to go into the world that she's in and play by those rules. Well, she's already used to that. And then let's say the example of Hollywood. What does it mean in that example to go in her world and play by those rules? In that example, it would be getting more designer clothes. It would be getting more status. It would be trying to impress her with the things that fit into our world, which would be like a nice car or a nice house. Now the thing is, it's like feeding meat to a lion, so that's their appetite, right? But I don't even want to use the meat to a lion example because I feel like I could use a better example that just gets the point across that yes, that might be what she's used to. Or let's say what my guy Steve says. She's eating bologna sandwiches with them. As soon as she has steak, as soon as she tries you and you're the steak, she'll never want to go back. She'll never want to go back. I genuinely know that when I'm done messing with a woman, and I'm going to use myself as an example, I genuinely know that when I'm done messing with a woman, the bar has been moved so high that she can never like look at another guy the same. Like she can now she can't even mess with another type of dude. Like the type she might have had before me is completely changed. She can't even see what a man is the same anymore. Or she'll look for different things now. And the funny part being is it's not just from how I fit into her world and try to fit in and okay, I'm gonna impress her with the things she's used to or how her world works and how her world is lived. But it's because I live in my own world, and I probably, if she was susceptible or able to be open-minded to it, showed her how to live in her own world, show her how to live by her own rules, her own definition, her own perception of self, her own value system, her own structure, vision, purpose, guidance, and self-sufficient validating system, not being validated by the external. And y'all always thinking cars, clothes, and money at this point. But external counts to anything. It could be someone's support or someone's lack of support being able to control you. You know what, man, they judging me, I'm going to stop. That's just equally being as controlled as looking for someone's approval. All of it is control. If you don't control yourself, you are being controlled by something or someone and peer pressured or trying to fit in and conform. And even biting your tongue. Even knowing that you'll offend someone or ruin a relationship. See, all as human beings, we all have a radar for that, like a perception of that. Like, or if I say this person's not gonna like it, or it may cause friction between us. The moment you stop and bite your tongue and step back from that is the moment you put them first, or is the moment you satisfied them instead of living true to what you wanted to do, against all odds. You still got to be self-aware though. I'm very self-aware, and I'm self-aware is that I'm not betraying myself. So f*** them. Am I being self-aware for being a people pleaser? No. If in fact, if I was even self-aware by being a people pleaser, what I would realize is, why does it take me being on my knees for this person to be satisfied? And why do I think that this is okay? Who told me this? Probably another people pleaser. Who told them that? Probably another people pleaser. So they taught me that shit. So what's so wrong with doing things that is beneficial, or let's say the word selfish? What's so wrong with being selfish? Because in fact, I'm going to use me for a testimony. Me being selfish has only benefited those that I care about. Going against the people I care about, putting them to the side, has only been able to help them. And in fact, anything that I do is good for me should be good for those that care about me, because they should support me unconditionally. And I don't mean they'll just let me drive off a bridge or start doing drugs or something like that. I just mean that when I stand on something, my view, my opinion, and my perspective, you know what? They say, I f*** with that. And if the only other answer is you're around yes men and yes women, and you are around people who only will tolerate you if you agree with them, and you're in the wrong situation, you're in the wrong circle, if that case, then you're being controlled. Unfortunately, that's most people's lives. Grim, clout and status was just the measurements for the world, for the Hollywood girl. It could be different for any example. If she's a fucking farmer and her world is, the guy that has the biggest plow and the biggest cows, or I don't know, like that's her measurements. It's not clout and status at that point. Hit and miss. I appreciate the 11 months.
WSG.
Can you go deeper into it involving parents? Well, your parents are human beings. Like all human beings, they're human beings, meaning that they were a baby once, they were a kid, they were a teenager, then they became adults, etc. And from the day they were born, they were being influenced by their parents and their environment. And even on top of that, their own genetics. So because of this, it's not very common that a person can surpass all of these influences, especially when that's the only way that they can find meaning in life. And I'm going to pause right there because that's a very important part. This is how people find meaning in life. Satisfying the world that they live in. And if they can't see themselves living in another world, then they will defend, live by, and die by the world that they think they live in. Which could be anything. It could be the whatever identity that they ride and die by. Whatever that identity is. Whatever the identity is. Fast forward. They were catching those influences, right? Therefore, they grew up and took in all this influence. Okay, yes, this is how people come in as a blank slate or a blank canvas, essentially, outside of their genetics, which there has been studies that have shown that your psychology is also tied to your parents' trauma and shit like that. So there's all this stuff out there like that as well. You fast forward, right? They have their own child. They're going to put that on you. Now we have you. So they're only passing down what other people in life has painted on their canvas. Now, what's mixed in here is experience, wisdom, knowledge, etc. So I'm not saying there's any problem with this. The problem is if they get so attached to their world that they can't see other worlds, or that they don't understand that it's only everybody's world or everybody's perception is flawed in some way. So it's flawed to say that this is the way. Everybody's way has some flaws, some level of flaws, especially if it's blindsided by arrogance and not a level of humility and open-mindedness to see other people's ways of living and comparing it to see how it could be better, how it could be adapt, essentially. Then now they come, give birth to you, you're in their world, whatever environment or world you were put into. And this world has rules, this world has structure, this world has identities. You're introducing your parents' world. And on top of that, it's not just your home environment, but it's your neighborhood, then it's the school you go to. And now we got social media. So now you see a million people worlds, right? And it's the good and bad in this, right? At the end of the day, a person needs, instead of to be, and mind you, y'all, one of the biggest structures for this, what I'm talking about, is something called immunity to change, right? And it talked about the 3 levels of mental complexities. Now, I don't want to make this super complicated, because if you ain't watched my video, The Allegory of the Cave, this is all new to you. So I'm trying to simplify this, because a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is stuff from that book, stuff from it's a researcher. I don't remember the dude's name, but he talks a lot about genetic trauma. I conglomerate all my knowledge. Like, I can put together all knowledge from different places at one time and then thread it through a conversation and make it easy to follow. Where was I at? We need to stay focused on what we was talking about, because if we get into super bunch of specific shit, it's going to only throw me off. I'm just threading the conversation how I want to go. Just know it's coming from a lot of different places. Like, it could even be that guy. Then I'm using something from a random ass book I read from one of them books. Or it's like, I can put together all the different shit that I learned and just connect it and just make it simple. That's what I'm very good at doing. So let's keep going. Now listen, the point I was making about you being born into their world, now you born into this world. As you grow up, right, it starts to become like a penalty and reward system from that. And the reward is approval. The penalty is disapproval. And that's mentally for you becomes like a way that you have meaning in life. So meaning, like, if my parents don't support this, then it's the end of the world. Like, or if my parents can guilt trip me now with their support or lack of support. You know what? If you're going to do that, we're going to kick you out. You're going to be homeless now. Or, you know what? We don't support that. You need to do this instead. So there's like this sort of control from it. Which at the end of the day, when you think about it, like, you're their child at the end of the day. And all parents are different. Some are more controlling than this. at the bottom line of it, it's just coming from a place that nobody wants to see their child down bad. Simply put, nobody wants to see their child down bad. But unfortunately, what parents don't know is that they can hurt you more by not allowing you to fuck up, by not allowing you to say, this is who I am, or find yourself at the same time, by not allowing you to explore it, essentially. But when they create this beaten path and say, this is what you're going to do, this is who you're going to be, and if you're anything else or you do anything else, then you are nothing. But that's not true. You're just nothing in their world. For example, if all they want you to do is be a doctor or a lawyer, and you tell them, well, I want to be a rapper, you're nothing in their world. Because their world, this is what has value. Which is why somebody said earlier, when I used the Hollywood example, in the woman's world, what's high value is clout and status. Well, in this parent's world, maybe it might be being a doctor or a lawyer, right? Or having that status, or that translates to status in their example. But every world has high value to what it measures as valuable. We all know this. Like, this is common sense. Point being is that whatever world a person has made you believe that you're in is what often people live and die by being controlled in. The weird part about this is identity matters. You just don't want to be controlled by it, or you don't want to be stuck in it. And you don't want to be able to adapt and metamorph, essentially, or outgrow your identity, or be stuck into that your entire life, which some people are. Which is why the level of mental complexities, whether the first level was the socialized mind, which is like being the passenger of a car. You don't control where the car is going. You're not even driving the car. You're the passenger. And the destination that the car is going is like the end goal, right? The purpose of where this car is going. Who's driving it controls the speed, etc. They control all that shit. Then you got the self-authoring mind. Now you're the driver of the car. You just don't control the destination. So you're controlling your decisions, but the destination was set for you by whatever identity you were given. Now the self-transforming mind, you're the driver of the car, and you can change the destination at your own will. And you look for better destinations intentionally. You don't just stand and live by, you know what, this is where I'm going, and it's the best way to go. It's the best way to get there. Number one, it's the best way to get there, and it's the only place to go. So I think that car metaphor is usually where it clicks with people. And if you go to the second one, imagine you're the driver now, but because of the destination, when you go left or you go right, and the GPS say go straight, you'll feel like you're going the wrong way. But the whole time, the GPS was set by someone else, so you're controlled by that. But the third one, I can change where I'm going. I can go take 3 lefts if I want to go right. I could do whatever I want. I'm not controlled by what was given to me. Nature versus nurture, low key. It's beyond that, because at some point, nature versus nurture, it's inevitable. Like, we all grow up, we all take in from our environment, but we are not egotistical. We're all not controlled by our ego. We're all not closed-minded. Mega D Ace, I appreciate the big 5 gifted subs. We already about to hit 700, and we started the stream with 610. Really appreciate y'all. I'm posting this vibe. I don't know yet. It depends how the vibe goes. Now I'm gonna allow questions to come in. Can you elaborate what you said earlier? On what you said, identity matters, but you shouldn't be stuck in it. I'm gonna tell you something. Identity matters, but you shouldn't be stuck in it. Identity matters because if you don't have no identity, right? At that point, you're just like a wave. Like you're like the ocean. Like people say, oh, be formless like water, right? But the point of that is the form is controlled by you. Like the form is controlled by you, and you're adaptable. What it's not saying is that you're just wishy-washy. You just one day, you just have no. Like you're a chameleon. Like you're just a snake, even. Like it's a lack of character when you have no identity. Or a simple one, quote by Malcolm X: "A man who stands for nothing falls for anything." Exactly. With a big 5 gifted subs. So if you have no identity, you won't be able to stand for anything. You have nothing. Like, you'll just be walked all over. You'll be led astray, right? And you'll just do anything and everything. because you're just easily influenced. So that's why identity is important. Now, the idea about not being stuck in that identity or not being controlled by it. Chat, let me know if y'all can't hear me over the subs, and I'll just wait until the subs stop. But I appreciate all the gifts, though. I appreciate all the gifts for sure. Let me check something real quick. All right, it's cool. Y'all can hear me over the subs, and I'll just keep talking. I appreciate all the gifts, and we better get our hype chase started. Right, so that's the point. You don't just want to have no identity just because not having one. So you need one, right? And you need the key is that you form it on your own, so it's an identity you chose and you stand by choice. Not, oh, this is John, he's going to be a soccer player, he's going to be a lawyer, he's going to be a doctor because somebody said so and it's important. But because I claim to be whatever I am or whoever I am. It's my claim to be. It's my choice, right? And it's also, you also have to be able to, before I even talk about why you don't want to be controlled by it, I guess that's easier first. Let's talk about that first. You don't want to be controlled by it because you might not see that a part of your identity is flawed. For example, let's say you want to be a multi-millionaire or a 8-figure millionaire. Let's just use money. Money is an easy example. And you've only been making $500K every year. If you're stuck in your identity, you're not going to be able to see what you lack because you're going to think you have it. You're going to think, you know what? I'm already made. So if you're stuck in your identity, you will not be able to adapt to be able to surpass your current identity or do more or become more because you're stuck and bound to what you always know. And if you are stuck in who you always are, you will always have the same results in life, period. So that's the point of not being controlled by it, because if the person who's not controlled by it but can actually update their identity or update that shit, can adapt quickly, can make the proper adjustments, and when you're also not stuck in it but you have a respect for its flaws, you look for those flaws, you filter them out like a comb, find them, and find a solution. So not only do you embrace the flaws and look for them on purpose, you look for situations and people who will tell you about your flaws because you know that's the best way to grow the fastest, and your ego is not blocking it because you're embracing it with humility. Saying, you know what? I know a lot, but I don't know what I know. I know a lot, but I know I also don't know a lot. I trust what I know because I trust my judgment. And I trust my judgment because it's tested. How is it tested? Because I've compared it to other people's judgment and I've seen that it's a bad judgment. And how do I know that? Not because of my biased opinion, but because I've compared it and analyzed it. Period. It's nothing personal. It's just about what's the best if we want to simplify this down. How would you know if you're at level 3 your mental complexity? They actually have a test for that. But the point being is that if you can, simple answer, test it aside and all that, are you able to go outside of yourself and make an adjustment based on what you need? That's the simplest way I can put it. Can you make an adjustment based on what you need? Meaning if you say, I'll give you an example. I remember, like I can do this all the time. When it comes, I'll give you an example. I assessed, like, okay, financial literacy wasn't taught to me in high school. Financial literacy definitely wasn't taught to me in my household. And I noticed a trend of poverty, a trend of generational this and all that. People always talk about this, right? On breaking generational curses. How many people have actually broken them? Let's take a simple one. What generational curses and all this? Oh, poverty got us on the head, like, or da da da. How many people have actually broken them? That's an example, right? And also, how many people have actually broken them? Shout out to the ones that's trying to break them now. That's all right. My point being, there are people who don't even recognize that there is a generational pattern going on. Like, oh shit, my great grandma was broke, my grandma was broke, my mom's broke. I might be broke if I don't realize that there's a pattern here. Will I find out what's keeping me broke? Will I make the adjustment? Will I make the proper solution to change and create a new result? That's an example of the level 3, the mental complexity. It ain't just always about the conspiracy theory of the media telling you need to buy Jordans to be cool and you need a diamond rollie and a diamond chain for the to fuck you. That's the basic bot shit. Look at your own personal life and say, what's going on here? What do I subscribe to that I think I need? How can I self-reflect? And comb through myself and figure it out. Because guess what the chat? I sure did. And it's all standing behind me. There's somebody that says some shit, man. I'm telling you. Oh my God. I'm telling you. I think about this all the time. The fact that I don't care and my ego is like not triggered easily in any ways. I see a bunch of comments that people can quote unquote get away with because I'm so humble. I like just don't care. I don't care to prove anything. I don't care about being Mr. I don't care about, yo, look at this baddie I was with the other day. Look at this, chat. I'll be doing this. I'll be doing that. Let me show y'all something. Da-da-da. That oftentimes people will underestimate the reality of my life or what I can do, right? So I remember this one comment. I think it was that Kevin Gates reaction. Somebody says, but I remember these comments because I'm like the audacity of if they knew the reality of my life. One of the comments says something like, oh, I hate when these dudes who just sit behind their computer want to tell you about confidence and what they can do with their life, and they're just telling you from their room in their parents' house. Brother, I have paid my parents' rent. I have 2 bedrooms and I only sleep in 1. Brother, I've been like, where do I even start? But it's just the irony of like, what does, even if, let's say this is an example of a closed-minded thinker. Forget the reality check of me setting the record straight, right? Let's see this in that comment. What did that have to do with the information I was sharing, right? And this is a reason why in debates it's called ad hominem when you attack the speaker. Are you doing it in a way that is relevant to taking away the speaker's credibility? Am I any more wrong? Is what I said any less right based on what you said? Or did you even listen to what I was saying? Can you even pay attention to content? Or are you triggered to look, or you just want to see the superficial? I told y'all, we did a test for this in one of my public, in a class I had, it was called, I think it might have been one of the honors courses. Either it was public opinion or it was advanced public speaking, right? And we did a test for this. And you said this is why I tell you about the system 1 and system 2 thinking. No, they're not just projecting. They might not even be projecting. They might not even live like that. Everything is not just projecting. You have a very limited vocabulary. Everything is not just projecting. To be honest, it might be some projecting into that. But beyond that, what I think is that they can't even see past what they see. They just can't even see past what they think. That's what it is. No ads. So it's no ads, or did y'all get hit with ads? None of y'all said anything, and I'm assuming it's no ads. 9 times out of 10, this is the point. My professor put something on the board and showed this girl. I tell you this all the time. He put this girl over the board, and she was like some emo girl, and she was super like nervous and like obviously awkward with her presentation. It was a video he was playing, and he asked the class. He asked like 6 people what they think, right? Somebody said, "Oh, look at her body language." Somebody said her tone of voice was her volume of speaking was low. Somebody said, excuse me, her hands were shaking. Somebody said her posture was bad. Like this is all they say. When he asked me, I said I like how she talked about. I like how she added the details in her day, because I remember it was like her speech. She was talking about. She was describing her day. I just remember that she talked about how like the sunlight, like the color of the sunlight. I am shot. I appreciate the 8 months. Like I had commented on what I noticed, and which I noticed like how she structured and described her day. Right now, he used that because he knew me. I had a pretty good relationship with this. I still to this day have a great relationship with this professor, like one of my mentors. But because he was talking about system 1 and system 2 thinking, and system 1 was like the quick, fast, everyday, habitual thinking. right? Brush your teeth the same, you think the same. It's very low cognitive function thinking, and it's easy on our brain. System 2 is the hard shit. It's the critical thinking. I might have the mix match. Y'all let me know. But system 2 was like the critical thinking. It's the tough decisions. It's the analytical thinking. And he made this point about how like it's very taxing on our brains to keep system 2 up, and oftentimes people have to critically think on purpose. I'm trying to move because I noticed the camera unfocusing. But bottom line is, because we had a good relationship, he knew me as one of those people like I'm the opposite. Like my shit, he had to study to back this up as well. Not on me, but on people like that. Their brain just does not like to go into system 1 thinking. They do not like to be in like on a regular type of like. They just don't see that their way. But most people do, because it's just how our brains has evolved, right? So he knew me, like he knew by now, like I know Ty's not one of them people. So when he asked this question, I naturally was commented something different that the other people were commenting on. So he made this point to say, going back to the comment I made about the YouTube thing, the average person can just not see beyond their world. They cannot see what's important. Because think about it. Is it really important that I'm some loser in my room? First of all, wrong is right. That I'm some loser in my, he said in my parents' house. Or is it right the point I was making? What's more important? What should you be paying attention to? Think about it. Imagine somebody had a speech, right? Most people would be bored to death. I bet you right now, we got almost 600 people in here. We did an E-Date, the viewers would double. Most people are bored if it's, like, let's say you find a YouTube video, right? Right? And it's an old guy. Let's say he's like 85, but he's intelligent as and he's talking about Mozart or something like that. Like if I show you some of the shit I watch without getting bored, the viewers would drop. The viewers would drop so fast. And it's not even just about the attention span or ADHD, but it's just about what people pay attention to. They need the pop-ups. They need the bloop, bloop, bloop. They need the high energy. They need all that extra shit. But if I show you the shit I will really watch like off stream, just on my natural time, the shit that I don't post on my channel that I don't really react to. TTG, Bushido, I appreciate the 5 months. The viewers would drop. And mind you, I already seen this happen before. Anytime we watch Noam Chomsky on stream, anytime we watch the philosophical shit on stream, the viewers drop. Because it's okay. It's okay, right? It's okay if you are that way. It's just how you naturally are. But the point I'm making is, train yourselves to critically think. Train yourselves to be analytical. Train yourself to notice and focus on what's important. God willing, I can't help it. But you can work on that. You can work on it like a muscle. You can sit here and check yourselves and say, you know what? I don't need to judge this book by its cover. I can judge a book by its cover. So it's not like I don't have that ability to do these things. However, it's what you go to first. You know what? Let me listen to this person. I don't give a fuck if it's this or that. What's important? What matters? And focusing on that. We did a reaction to the guy was talking about seduction. I'm like, do you think this guy would really be giving you seduction advice? But I did that as a joke and then sat there and listened to what he had to say. And it was like, you know what? He's spitting. I can look past what I see. I can look past what I expect and what I think. Because I know what's important and what matters. That's what critical thinking is. Critical thinking is about paying attention to the details and coming up with your own perspective of it. What is a lady's role in a man's life? Sometimes find myself wanting girls just to nothing more. That's because you have with all due respect, a nothing more life. Because I'm going to be honest, I can say that because at a point in my life, I had a nothing more life. So guess what the only purpose woman served in my life? Quick links, quick flirting, just superficial things, and all types of shit like that. So until you have more of a purpose, until you have more substance, until you become more about more, essentially, that's all you'll get out of women. That's all you'll go for in women. That's all you'll get out of life, genuinely, honestly. It ain't even about just, I'm just a great leader. Honestly, bro, it's just about being grateful for just the littlest shit. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to wake up this morning. I'm grateful shit that it's sunny today. I'm grateful that I ate food today. I'm grateful that as soon as you start noticing the little things and paying attention, it's like it just automatically shifts your thinking because everybody's thinking is so for the future. So, I need this, I need that. What's my big goal? What's my big dream? In the live, I appreciate the Twitch Prime sub, or caught up in their attitude, or caught up in their ego. Going to this 4th of July party, any tips on setting the vibe with people or just women who I think are attractive in general? Talk to them. That's your simple answer. Have fun, bro. You already have your own personality. You already have your own sense of humor. But there's no way to engage that if you don't talk to them. And you're not going to get better at it or good at it by hearing me answer a question. You just have to really put yourself out there a lot. To the point where you already are super comfortable doing that shit. You have detox like this with your IRLs? Yes. You know what's funny? Anytime somebody I know personally tells me that they know me. All right, let me describe this. Let me just give an example. My dad was working, right? And one of the dudes he was working with was talking about him starting a podcast or something like that. And he was like, "Oh, my son got a YouTube channel." Before he even said my name, he was just describing what I do. He's like, "TyKwonDoe?" And mind you, he was all hyped, like, "Oh, what the f-? Yo, oh my God, like I've been watching him since such and such." And dude like 32, right? And the funny part is, my dad said is, people always ask me, "Are you like this in real life?" I don't know why y'all think, why would y'all think I'm any different? I just told you, my mom just donated a sub like an hour ago in the stream. Do you think my mom will be able to watch me if she thought her son was putting on a mask or a robe? Don't you think she would be like, "I can't watch that. Like, it's just, you ain't." My mom will sit in the chat. My grandma will send me my videos. My grandfather would call me and say, "Yo, I just seen what you did." Why do y'all think I have a switch? In fact, my only switch might be is, let's say you see me out and I'm kicking it. And I'm chatting, like I'm just, it is some, I can small talk, I can have fun, I can kick back and just talk, and of course anybody can. But at the end of the day, my true friends, like my close friends, they know who I am. They know this is who I am. There's no, that's just a funny question, because other people have told me that, on top of my dad saying that, like they always ask, like, "Is he like that for real?" The f*** am I supposed to be? Should System 2 always be on? No, it's not a recommendation, it's an observation. Is there specific instances where System 2 might not be necessary, like a small comment with a stranger? It's not about, see, y'all have gotten so used, and that's not a bad idea, honestly, just making information useful to you. But it wasn't about what you should or should not do. It just was an observation, bro. I just was saying that it can hurt you if in a moment where you should be critically thinking and paying attention to details, you're being judged. You're judging instead of critically thinking. It can harm you, because now you're being arrogant, where you should have been shown humility and listened instead of having something to say. That's the example I could think of. Lincoln Key says ego isn't a bad thing when used correctly. For example, building or creating towards something beneficial. When spoken about Japanese mentor, he said ego is never a good thing because it's limiting to a said person thoughts. Use whatever information is beneficial to you in the way that it benefits you. If you ask me, though, I don't think the ego overall is a good thing. And that's because I have a lot of influence of Zen Buddhism and Buddhist principles and Islam principles and shit like that. So that's just what I subscribe to. That's just the opinions and perspectives that I've studied and analyzed and come up with my judgment for. And why do I believe overall that the ego is not a good thing? Because the ego tends to be very short-sighted. Also, the ego tends to be very personal. So if you get used to depending on or incorporating your ego, you take in these traits, you take in this influence. And I know I can act without it. So shout out to 19 Keys, because 19 Keys has a lot of intellectual and smart points. And that's maybe how he has gotten his ego to influence him. But I just see differently, and I see outside of that. And that's how I've chosen to get, because I used to think that too, and there are men who will argue valid points for that. Like, yo, your ego can be helpful. Your ego can give you fuel. Your ego can, make you work harder. Your ego can, once you got something to prove to your ego, blah, blah, blah. But I go outside of that. Why? Because I like a calm mind. I like a mind that is not being tugged and pulled and pushed. The ego's like that. The ego will tell you you need to do something, or needs to be that. I fuck with the calmness of my soul. I fuck with that. Ego makes you weak to others. No, that's if you're controlled by your ego. But honestly, a lot of times when dudes get to, like, let's say a 19 keys, he'll provide a beneficial relationship with his ego because he's intelligent enough not to be controlled by his ego. So at that point, it's just his own personal spiritual journey or personal spiritual perspective to say, do I need, or is this useful to me or not? And what way will I make it? Let me see if I had to come up with a metaphor. I think I want to be very specific. My analogies and my metaphors be so on point. Y'all gotta give me credit for that. One thing I can do is find a metaphor. And I'm thinking of like the ego or the use of it or the discarding it. I really had to think about it though. But my answer is no. If you can work to minimalize and take out the influence of your ego as much as you can, do that. That's my perspective. That's my opinion. And I stand on it. Because guess what? I have admired leaders who have sacrificed themselves to their causes. And that is the ultimate. I damn near get chills on my skin thinking about that. That is the ultimate honor to me. And I'll leave it at that. The system won't relate to being on autopilot mode, basically. Yeah. And to a certain extent, we all have it. Like, you know what I'm saying? We are, like, it's not that, my natural way of being a system 2. So system 1 is just not there at all. No, I bet you when I brush my teeth, I don't think about it at all. I'm not sitting here critically analyzing the angle and the circles. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like ego is a person's personality. So why are they two different words? Y'all always try to basically shit. Why y'all do that? Why? So basically this. So this is just that. No, it is not. You need to respect something being individually unique. Because the moment you try to... You know what y'all do when y'all do that? It's like... Let's say you got shapes, right? You got a square, a triangle, and a circle. Just because the triangle could fit in the square, y'all just throw it in the... It's not a square, though. Y'all just will fit the triangle block in the square. Like, so it's basically just that. Like, it fits. No. Personality is how someone expresses themselves, not identity. Persona. Personality. That's where that comes from. Ego, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. There you go. Do you agree with me on the fact that being more intelligent will help you with your game? Of course it would. Nigga. People always talk about pimps and this, that, and the third. If y'all are genuinely, outside of a lot of the world's attack on pimps and stuff like that, for the reasons that they have, which I don't disregard at all. If you notice, like, pimps tend to be very, very intelligent. And all they do is use that intelligence into how they, interact with women and interact with the world. And they use it to their advantage. And that becomes a huge part of their way of living. Just like any person who goes and tries to be anything in any area of life, or any person should. Whether I call them a politician, whether I say a pimp, whether I say a high-level athlete. You know what I'm saying? But I'll just use the pimp because they use it in relation to other people. High-level businessmen understand this. Duh. Like, if you ain't using your intelligence, you are just the biggest waste of... I almost said waste of... But, let's keep it... Let's not talk vulgar, man. I'm gonna chill on shit like that. What makes something complex, or is it relative to the individual? What makes something complex, or is it relative to the individual? It is relative to the individual. How complex something is, or you know what? I love this question. You know why? How complex something is not relative to the individual. Because guess what? I can be just as complex as what I'm dealing with. For example, a mathematician. A mathematician would not tell you that calculus or rocket science is easy. Like, they're not going to tell you it's not complex. But because they're a mathematician, they get it. They're able to make it look easy. It's easy relative to them. But that doesn't make it any less complex. What makes something complex is if it involves a combination of knowledge or skills. And the only thing I can compare it to that most people understand is think about school. What does school do? There was math. Okay, 1 + 1 is 2. Then we start subtracting. Then we start dividing. Then we start multiplying. It's like, okay, I knew how to do all that. All right, okay, cool. Okay, let's bump it up. The more complex something is the more it requires you to use a bunch of different areas of background knowledge. So now that we're doing geometry, your algebra better be solid. Well, guess what? Now that you're doing trigonometry, your geometry and your algebra better be solid. Okay, now guess what? Now that we're doing pre-calculus and calculus, your geometry, your algebra 2, your algebra 1, all that better be, it's going to combine together. So that's what makes it more complex, is that the building blocks are necessary. I feel like we have one of these Einstein-ass streams, chat. No bullshit. Doesn't general cognition deal in your persona, okay, how people view and hold you because of how you move and are affected? What do you mean deal in your persona? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by deal in your persona? If it takes more depth to understand it, it's more complex. I actually like this Einstein-ass stream because I feel like it pushes away the surface dwellers. It pushes away the simple-minded people. Like, just leave, shoot. And then when we doing some bot entertaining shit, they can come back. So it becomes complicated. What I feel like I can get to a point where that is like you know what I'm saying? But that'll come. We're gonna get a Peterson or Green collab. In the future, that'd be tough. Good metaphor. Everyone has strong and weak points. Facts. Best part of the stream. I'm telling you, bro. And this is where I get to talking how I really like to talk, which is how I talk, which is very calm. People say monotone, but I know the ones that pay attention to the message don't give a fuck how I say it. How many people would say that? You know how many times I laugh when I see people like review, like some people either react to my e-dates, either other creators and be like, oh, bro's too monotone, bro. He got to like spice it up. First of all, I'm not changing to appeal to anybody, number one. Number two, if you understood that when the one-on-one conversation was there, she was here, why do I have to change? Because of the excitement or being chosen on a screen? I'm telling you, it's such superficial thinking. I hate even addressing it because it just feels like a waste of my time. But it's entertaining to me. No, bro, you far off. Finally be able to lock in the stream on only YouTube. Welcome to the stream, bro. The funny part is, chat, is somewhere in the mix of this is toxicity. in the funniest way though. Like not seriously, not genuinely, but like somewhere in the mix of this is a Philly nigga, bro. That's the funny part, bro. It's like a switch without not being authentic. No bullshit, bro. That was a great answer to the relevant question. I didn't even think about it in that way. Yeah. Do you believe in objective morality? As a person who has taken a class on argumentation, which is the backbone of debating, don't ask me if I believe in it. What is it? Why are you? What do you mean? What do I believe in it? Basically, I'll say no. And you know what's funny? You know what that made me think of? I remember something. Somebody said something like, okay, we shouldn't have self-driving cars because a self-driving car is not going to calculate the most moral thing to do. So if I'm about to hit a baby and it's either hit the baby or kill the driver of the car, and the AI that's self-driving has to either kill the person crossing the street or kill the driver with the car crash, what will it do? That's a dumbass question. You know why? Because what would a human being do? And is any human being going to say they're going to choose the same thing? And does that make the self-driving car any more flawed because it would choose the most analytical thing? That's a bad question. Because a human's not even going to answer that correctly. And what's the correct answer? Kill 10 people and save 10,000? Murder is murder. What if it's the only way to do it? So we want to get into this moralistic bullshit. No. You know why? Because look at the world. Look at the reality. Get out of your heads. And this is the criticism Plato had for rhetoric, or rhetorical scholars, or sophists, and all in general. People care more about debating sides than producing results. People care more about the argument. Think about it. This is what literal law is. Law does not care about who's guilty or who's innocent. Law cares about who creates the best argument for who's guilty or who's innocent. When you really think about it, unless a person's caught in literal 4K, right? The intention is to get them proof to be able to. And I'm gonna get off the charge here. I'm like, I want to say 10,000 things at once. Y'all got me fired now. This is my area of expertise, nigga. So hold on. Let me slow down. Where was I? Bottom line, when it comes to morality, you look at the real world, nobody gives a fuck. Even as a person, I consider myself spiritual. I consider myself to have a connection with a higher power, a form of meaning in the universe, right? Meaning I don't think things are random. I don't think that when my mom bumped into my dad, it was the calculation of all the units in the universe and there's an equation for that, right? I don't neglect math and I don't neglect science. I literally was a bio major in pre-med and when I was in college. So I love that shit. I combined the two. I think they all coexist, right? But I do believe in some sort of rhyme or reason to life. I don't just believe in coincidences, right? Now listen, as a person who considers myself spiritual, right? I don't believe in a good or a bad, bro. I just believe that it just is, right? Because if we even look at religion or religious lens, God also created the devil. So it just is. Things just are. And you have free choice to choose which side or which path you're on. And more so, not to even take the religious road or even go into that route. What I was saying with that is, when you look at the reality of the situation, there are tough decisions. There are situations where, honestly, there's no real good choice. Would you, if you had a decision, you were a politician, because oftentimes politicians are the ones who do decisions like this. So when you're stuck on this moral ground of, oh, I'm a good person, I'm just so perfect. That's not how life works. Life works where you have to make the tough decisions every day. Damn, you know what? Either I let these people cause a revolt and cause an uproar, or I crush an ant while it's an ant and save all these people. There is no moral good answer here. Because y'all gotta realize, in ethics, they have a whole bunch of theories for shit like this. And one theory may say that there's like a calculation for morality. Meaning, what's the overall? Is it overall good or is it overall bad? Right? The lesser of two evils, exactly. And honestly, as much as I love philosophy, ethics, and debate, you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. And at the bare minimum, let's have it be backed by principles. Because even ethics gets into this. Intention does not matter. Intention is not important. You can try. People use intention as a scapegoat. Oh, I mean well, but you did bad. You caused harm. So who gives a fuck if you meant well, right? What's more important? All this is a debate. Which will you care about? I'm just giving y'all food for thought, chat. I'm just giving y'all food for thought. This is how I think. I like thinking about shit like this. Like this is where my mind likes to go, bro. I'm gonna be honest. This is where my head likes to be at. It's like mental. It's like a mental Rubik's cube. You know what I'm saying? They have read the Bible, but throughout the Bible, never explicitly says it's the most book of the Bible, never deeper. So why they are surprised. That's when the Bible before Noah, God was going to wipe humanity before he viewed humans as a mistake. Right. I think morality is opinionated, and there's no wrong choice or bad choice. Right. At the end of the day, guess what? At the end of the day, guess what I know? As complicated as my mind is, as all this debates, all this dialogue in my head, guess what my mind also has to know and what has to ground me? At the end of the day, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you have to make a choice. At the end of the day, you have to live by your decisions. You know? Don't at chat. Don't call him a bot for talking about the call button thing. We just talking about some deep shit right now. You know what I'm saying? We on a whole different like wavelength, bro. Shout out to Kai too. What's your thoughts on Illuminati and DDG situation? I think if I give an opinion, it's flawed because I don't know everything and I have not been paying attention to the beef. But from what I see, and I don't even like speaking unless I'm truly educated on what I'm saying. Intuitively, I think going back to when that Bruce beef was happening, that it kind of like a lot of y'all have this God-like mentality towards certain content creators. Like everybody's not human, including myself. I can be wrong. I can make mistakes. I can be flawed. I can do wrong. I'm not God. A lot of people do the same thing with celebrities. It's just the cognitive dissonance that comes with bias towards who you like. And I think that for the most part, because DDG is this big, he's been successful in music, he's been successful in content, that people have put him on such a high pedestal that they think it's a problem to call him out for being wrong. So when you see somebody like Bruce go against him, everybody like want to take sides. But at the end of the day, if you have a quality homie or a quality friend, I can tell you you're fucking wrong. Or I can call you out and there's no beef. I should be allowed to say that. I don't want no yes men around me. That shows how weak I am. I say this to say, when we talk about the Illuminati and DDG thing, I think the Illuminati, from what I know, they've been clashing heads for the longest because they come from two different worlds. Illuminati sees themselves as like, I don't live in that world of that everything is clout, everything is money. And I have a lot of respect for that. And at the end of the day, a lot of y'all can't see DDG as a human being because he's motivated me, and DDG has some very motivational shit, right? His whole journey, y'all have seen him grow from nothing to everything. So a lot of y'all see that, and y'all don't think that he can be called out. Y'all don't think that he can be criticized. And I think that there's on DDG's side, he's also in this perspective where like he's had to wear this ego, like I'm him, and not only with his girlfriend, everybody's judging him, everybody's hating on him, people just coming at him on angles, disrespecting him. I think that he's also gotten used to putting his wall up of that ego, and it's harmful to him. It will be harmful to him in the long run. I don't have no sides. I don't know either of these people personally. I don't speak with no bias. I speak on a higher level. I don't even speak to say, oh, well, I'm defending Illuminati or I'm defending DDG. I speak what I think is best. And I think that it'd be beneficial to DDG if he could open his mind and get out of the world that he's used to living in, which is what I think is public opinion, the word of public opinion. Everybody's opinion. What does everybody think of me? Everybody's hating. Everybody loves me. Everybody is, and you don't want to get used to judging someone's loyalty to you by their approval or their lack of support. Because tough love is still love. You know what I'm saying? That was a long ass answer, bro. That's what I think on the situation, though. You ever think about psychedelics or try to know yourself? Never. Me personally, I have been super none of that. But I know people have tried it. But me personally, no. No, just no thank you. These are the type of conversations I have with my friends. I appreciate this community you created and hope one day I have one of my own. Welcome to the dojo, man. I disagree. Morals come from empathy for other humans. The reason you don't murder innocents is because you understand how murder has bad effects to others, unless I'm misunderstanding your point. Well, self-defense is also murder. Would you let a person kill you because you were empathetic about not murdering a person? And then it could even get deeper. What if this person murdering you was angry and they were afflicted with the demons that they were fighting? And you're so empathetic and spiritually open that you understand that they're fighting demons, so you won't protect yourself because they're fighting demons and you know it's better and you don't want to, it's not really them that's trying to hurt you. So how deep do you want to get? How deep do you want to get? I respect what you said about morals coming from empathy, but guess what? We have human beings who don't experience empathy. What do we call those? Sociopaths, I believe. I think both. I can't remember. I have a hard time. I learned so much new shit. I have a hard time learning. I think either both sociopaths and psychopaths have no empathy, or one of them doesn't. I know what makes them different, but I don't know which title I'm thinking of. Right? I know when one is super desensitized to empathy. One is super like they don't really even feel any process anything to themselves. So I think it's this. I'm talking about a sociopath. Sociopaths have a hard time processing empathy, and they have a very cold, like, vibe to them, right? And honestly, sociopaths can be normal people until something shocks them, right? And something traumatic or something like that. Psychopaths are like the crazy, like, okay, this might be a serial killer. This might be, ooh, watch out for them. Psychopaths are born, sociopaths are created. Is that what we're talking about? Okay, so now I was talking about a sociopath when I talk about like the shock. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so I was right. All right. That's why I was saying with psychopaths, like that's the motherfuckers you gotta watch out for. Like that's just them. Okay, so I remember. So sociopaths, like they feel nothing, not even children, but you would never know until they say it because they wouldn't sugarcoat it. Exactly right, and they could be walking around every day, nothing wrong. I'm atheist, but even I know the logic behind morals is two wrongs don't make a right. Why'd you even have to mention being an atheist to have a compass of moral guidance? Do you think God gives you your moral compass? Then you go, that's why the Bible says we're all sinners and forgiveness is the only way. I do not think, and this is even said in another religion, which is Islam, and it says that, if any Muslims in here, correct me if I'm wrong, something about the word being written on your heart. Nero Zen, I appreciate the 3 months, man. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you for the content. Getting better one step at a time.
In Islam, I believe there's something said about the word being written on your heart, or something like that. Like it's written on your heart or something like that. Like even if a person didn't have access to that, like it can be on their heart. So even in that, it's talking about that's Christianity. Maybe Christianity said it too. Yes, he knew, but it's like a parallel dimension situation. There, we did chance lose the root will not betray God. Christianity says that. I'm telling you for sure. I'm like 99.99999999% sure I've seen that in Islam as well. So it could be both. Chat. They could say the same things. Don't y'all know these religions have influenced each other, bumped heads and stuff like that? Y'all don't. That's a whole nother conversation. Even serial killers think they're right. Exactly. Are you critical of religion? I've been critical of religion since I was 8 years old. Since I was 8 years old, bro. This is how my mind has always been. And that's just because, right, I was exposed to a lot as a kid. And I was curious. I was very inquisitive. I was very, so mentally, introverted. But I was a thinker. And all I did was pay attention, observe, learn, think. Pay attention, observe, learn, think. Observe, learn, think. And I'm still like that to this day. I'm telling you, my grandmoms would tell you, my grandparents, parents would tell you, they really notice. Growing up, I was the kid, I asked a million questions. I had a million questions all the time. All the time I had questions about everything, even random ass shit. I remember always just super inquisitive. But when you talk about being critical of religion, I just got critical of that because, oh shit, one half of the family is Christian, the other half is Muslim. How we both saying we going somewhere? And how we both saying we right? That was very interesting to me. I didn't even care about what was right. I just thought that was interesting. Kids shit, you're just curious. I never believed in God. My whole family did. I just know the Bible God makes no sense. God can still be real though, just not the Bible. I mean, you don't have to throw that away to knock somebody's faith in religion. I think that religion is very good for people. I do. And I think that even religious people would agree with what I have to say when I say you cannot just understand God through religion. You have to have your own personal relationship with God. And in fact, that will make your relationship with your religion even stronger. There's no getting around spirituality. You have to have your individual relationship with God or your sense of God or whatever you think. It's oftentimes when people only have a relationship with God through religion that they question their own religion and that they're like fake religious people because they're only going through the motions. They're wearing the mask. They're just putting on the uniform and showing up. But it's the people. Derek the Don, I appreciate the 5 months. It's the people. The people who are religious and would die for their religion. Those are the ones who have their personal relationship with God, where they're like, listen, religion to the side. Like they have a personal, like, it's in their heart. Have you heard of God complexes? So you're with someone who would have a God complex. Unfortunately, it's very common. I hate to even say this because a lot of y'all might have this red pill influence, so y'all might take it personal and generalize and all this shit. But it's very common that, well, because I interact with more women than men. I often see that women have more of a God complex than men, and that might be biased to say that because you might find a lot of men in a circumstance that have a God complex. They might be cops, they might be lawyers, right? And I've seen a video before where it talked about how the cops tend to have arrogance and God complexes. Like certain personalities go for those careers, and they tend to be very powered maniacs type shit, right? But the point I'm about to make is I tend to notice like a God complex in women, and I'm only using that because I've tended to go for like super pretty women, right? So you mess with like real pretty women, bad, etc. And mind you, she might be like say the only daughter, even worse. She's super beautiful. Boom. She the only daughter. Boom. True J, I appreciate the 3 months. How can you not develop a God complex? And her whole life she's been God in her life. Her whole entire life she's been God. And I'm talking about like when a chick is really beautiful and pretty, they don't be having glow ups. Like she been pretty since she was came out the womb. Gorgeous her whole life. And she's been experiencing that pretty privilege or that like, so that pretends, and her family has pampered her and all that. So that's why I use that example. But I don't even want to generalize because I know a lot of y'all will be like, oh, you're picking on women. And like, I just gave an example. And when you say how have you interacted with that God complex, it can be very humbling for that person when you treat them like a normal human being. When you do not allow them to overstep your boundaries because they're used to people conforming to them. And at this point, I'm not even talking about the super pretty woman at this point. I'm talking about anybody who has a God complex. They think the world revolves around them. And I don't mean it to take away from the fact that it's her life or his life and it's his world. It's his life. His life literally revolves around him. I mean to the point where you bow down. I'm right. And if I say the sky is green, the sky is green. That's a God complex. At the end of the day, I treat my world revolves around me. Nigga, it's my life. Right? But I know the sky is blue for everybody. Right is right, wrong is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And just because I think something is a fact or I think it's a fact does not make it a fact. And I'm not delusionally attached to my perspective. I think I'm confused. I would think a God complex would come from within in their way of living. How does that take away from anything I've said? I'm just saying that her God, or I use the woman example because her God complex has been prepared since the day she was born. That's why I said, how could you expect somebody not to have a God complex in their situation? They've been treated like one. But instead of like, I don't know, I think it's at a certain point, a part of them wanted to have a God complex. Because somebody can be pampered their whole life. Somebody can be gorgeous their whole life and be very sweet and sensitive and open-minded and considerate. So I'm not even going to sit here and blame it on all the circumstances I talked about. Does power give you a God complex? No. Power does not make you anything. Money does not make you anything. These things only pump into what is already there, which is why you see people, right? They felt like losers when they had nothing. And they didn't see the value in having themselves. So when I say they had nothing, that's because their perspective made them think they had nothing because they didn't have all the superficial shit that they've pumped themselves up with. Right? Fast forward, they have everything, which they think is everything. It could be cars, clothes, money, status, clout. People like them, right? So they think they have power, they have influence. So now they think they have everything when actually everything was them. That's all they needed. Their soul, they're who they are. They didn't know that though. So now that they got everything, they now see and conflate a sense of self with their power over others, or their what they own, right? When technically you don't own anything. You don't even own yourself. You have to give yourself back when you die. So they now conflate their sense of power with all of this stuff, and they exert it over others. This is where you get a situation where a super arrogant person, super all this, when in reality the most confident person in the room can just let everybody coexist. Let everybody move around. Let the egos bump heads, and they can just sit back and be nobody. The most confident person can be nobody, and they can be fine with it, because they know they're not somebody because somebody sees that they're somebody, or they're not nobody because somebody sees that they're nobody. They are whoever they choose to be, whether they open their mouth and close their mouths or prove anything. Let me simplify this, because I feel like I'll get into my talk and people just get lost. I'm not less valuable as a Lamborghini because a caveman taps his fucking stick on the hood and says this is not a Lamborghini. I have to know I'm a Lamborghini. I hate to even use a car for example, but y'all get what I'm saying. Imagine you're somewhere, this is $1 million car, and somebody uses it as a dinner table. You know what I'm saying? Like, now if I see myself as a dinner table instead of a Lamborghini, that's my fault. Now if I start revving my engine and turn it on and I'm not a dinner table. I hate that I'm using a goofy ass metaphor. I hope y'all get what I'm saying though. This is what people egos do. This is what people who lack confidence do. When I hear God, I think pure, filled with wisdom, just seem like you are focusing on the physical, but then again you're referring to upbringing of a blessed woman. Right. But guess what? When people are talking about a God complex, a person who has a God complex may think that they're pure and filled with wisdom. So what you're saying is not take away from what I said. W. Bands, I appreciate the 17 months. Just because you hear the word God, and you think pure and filled with wisdom, that ain't got nothing to do with somebody who has a God complex. They think they're pure and filled with wisdom, which is why you should bow down to them. Duh. You get what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with how you physically show it, like by buying this person something. It's just it's the obedience. It's the submission. In whatever form it comes. Like, please ask me about Aristotle and the ethics, bro. Do you self-vocalize when reading? Like, do you mean do I read in my head? I'm a very imaginative person. Like, I'm a very creative person, so I like to read that way. Even though I can read faster by not reading with the voice in my head, it's like when I'm reading something, I like to read the shit that make me think. Even if you were reading like a romance novel, right? I never read a romance novel in my life. But if I did, I imagine that I would visualize the characters. I would hear their voices. Like, it just makes the read more interesting to me. Like, I couldn't just speed read something just for the sake of, like, flying through pages. Oftentimes, too, when I'm reading something, I'll stop and interpret what I'm reading. Like, I'll stop and say, damn. And I'll just try to mix it into what I'm already thinking. And then make predictions. Like, you got to read actively. I don't just read and flip page and flip page and flip page and flip page and flip page. That's how I retain information, honestly. I got to make sure I get it. If I don't get it, I'm not going to keep going forward. Isn't that how everyone reads? No, honestly, people can just read. You can turn off the voice in your head when you read so that you can read faster. Because you can read faster. So think about it. The voice in your head sounds like this. Like if I read one of y'all sentences, you should look into Madness of Crowds by Douglas Murray. The voice in my head follows a regular person's voice. So if I stop reading with the voice in my head, I can just see the words. And I can look at the whole sentence and I got it. We could read much faster without the voice in your head. That's a fact. Like, that's a known fact. You ever reread your books? Not as much as I want to. And oftentimes, if you see any book I got like highlighters I write in books with pens. Like I destroy books when I run through them. So oftentimes, if I need to reread it, I know specifically what I have to go to for a certain part. Like, but honestly, a lot of times when I get something, I got it. I know how to make information stick. I really do. So I've gotten really good at knowing how to make information stick because I absorb a lot of information. And it's like, it's a certain way your brain works. And this is why it's good to learn shit. Kid BTO, I appreciate the 11 months. Right? I haven't had to learn how to learn because I like to learn a lot fast every day, all the time. So one way your brain works is it's easier to retain information and it's easier to recall information and it's harder to forget information if when you learn something, it's connected to many different things. For example, it's been probably over 2 years since I've been a bio major, right, in college. And even though I did it for 2 years, right, my last two, I was doing communication and media and stuff like that and related to the honors college as well. But the reason I can remember all the shit that I was learning, or majority of it, right, is because I would apply it to different things. I would apply it to the benefits of fasting. I would apply it to why I eat the way I eat. I've connected it to different things. So I'm not just remembering that chapter of the textbook as a chapter. I'm remembering it because I'm applying it in my life. How can you read without the voice in your head? Look that up, honestly. Look that up. I feel like if I'm just looking at something, I can just turn the voice off, like, and then use my eyes. I'm going through Principles by Ray Dalio right now. That's one of my favorite books. I just gave away I didn't give them away. Sometimes I let people borrow my books, right? So I just gave my homie two of the books, and one of them was Principles by Ray Dalio. I told him, I said, yo, listen, these my babies, man. Like, these my babies, you know what I'm saying? I need these babies. I wrote shit in them books. I didn't these my babies. This ain't just a book, you know what I'm saying? These convos are so tough. You finished Immunity Change? No. I told you I was introduced to that book probably 3 or 4 years ago now. And it wasn't even introduced to the whole book. My professor took an excerpt from it and put it in her textbook. That's how I knew what the book was about or where the book came from. And as I'm reading it separately, I'm like, damn, like this shit. But it's not one of them easy reads. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If any of y'all have ordered that after watching the Olive Gritter Cave video, y'all might have actually tapped into that book before I did. I took what I needed and then I discarded that entirely. But as part of me said, let's look at it. Let's see what's going on here, right? And it is not really one of them easy reads. It's one of them joints where you really gotta pay attention. Reading that and Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, that book will really change your life. Chat, this is the shit I like. If I recommend something, it's quality. That's what y'all gotta understand, bro. I'm gonna say this first and foremost. Y'all will see so many dating coaches. Y'all will see so many life coaches and all this. How many of these is actually giving you information which is impactful? I'm not trying to motivate you, my nigga. I'm trying to change your life. I'm trying to give you something that can change your life. And it's not going to be motivation. There is actually quality information out here. There's not fluff. I think we just see so many TikToks and all this. We get used to fluff, like fluff. Don't y'all know that there's actually quality information that makes a difference in the world? I love that. I love that when you read something, it's not like, because you got all these finance books. Everybody got a finance book. Everybody's all financial literacy. I found the shit that is really about what it's about. It ain't some fluff. It ain't, oh, I done heard this or seen this from somewhere. How many times do y'all try to recommend me a book and I look at it and I'm like, I done seen this before. I done heard this before. I don't like shit like that. It's so many spiritual books. Y'all be like, oh, read the Master Key System. Read this. I'm like, yo, there's so many mainstream recommendations. You know what I like? I like the shit that people don't know about. I find the shit that people have not read. How many times does somebody recommend you? Oh yeah, you gotta read 48 Laws of Power. You gotta read this. Look at my book list. The only two predictable books on there of the 5 that I gave y'all might be The Art of War and Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. And I only went with those 2 because they're easy, small reads. I didn't want to overwhelm y'all with the crazy shit. And I only put one crazy shit book on there, which was The Principles by Ray Dalio. And that's a 500-page book. And I'm like, I'm going to just throw this in there. But I honestly try to spoon feed y'all some shit. But y'all let me know, because I can let y'all drown. I can give y'all the drowning shit. I gave y'all a sliver of the ocean, a droplet, little, because I knew it just was the easiest way to just step your hands into the water. You know what I'm saying? I'm 16 and I'm still gonna find the books interesting, never found it enjoying to read. I mean, at 16, I don't think I was taking books serious either. Not as serious as I do now. But if you want to be better than me, you should get on that shit early. You probably don't take books serious because you don't really understand the true value of a book. It was something that was said before, and it was, I hate that this pertains to black people, but it honestly, at this point, it doesn't anymore. But it was something, it was a quote, it was like, if you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in the book. And let me tell you something. You might have some creators like me who does a lot of reading and research. So when I give a point, I might not quote my sources, because I'm never going to copy and paste somebody's shit, right? But I might not quote my sources, but a lot of my shit is backed by not only just my experience, like I live what I say, but I'm very well researched and very well educated. You just don't see that side of me unless we have these kind of discussions. You don't see that. You don't know that because most people just see TyKwonDoe on the internet. You don't know college Kwando. You don't know connected in the honors college Kwando. You don't know speaking at events with politicians. You don't know that. I don't put all this on I don't try to validate myself through this. I'm a very educated man. But I just spoon feed it in ways that make sense. And then when I use terms like Riz and all this other shit, it goes into that. But I'll tell you, respectfully, you cannot compare me to a lot of people because they just going off of like schmoop-de-doop. Oh yeah, bro, come on, bro. And a lot of times, honestly, that experience and expertise is a valid, incredible source to begin with. I like going outside. I like going on top of that. I have both. What they call it, street knowledge and book knowledge. I like just absorbing everything, right? So I say that to say that a lot of times you gotta understand, bro. I remember I was not into reading, didn't care about reading because I didn't understand. You just don't know. First of all, bro, reading in and of itself, working out in general. People always talk about, oh, go to the gym for your muscles. Nigga, that shit is healthy for your brain. Reading is good for your focus. Reading is good for your thinking. You so stuck in here and videos and text messages. Even reading something digitally is not the same as reading a physical page of book. Do the research. I'm giving you the conclusion, but the research will give you like the breakdown of the shit. Slime Time Breaks, I appreciate the 22 months. Right?
Hope you all got a workout in Dojo for life! TyKwon Genjutsu.
What I try to give y'all is the conclusion of the research. I don't try to give y'all the full research because that will make my vids 5 times as long. So I try to give y'all the conclusions of the research, which is you want to read a book, but if you're reading, read the physical one. Don't read the digitalized one, and do not listen to the audiobook because it's different. It does something different to your brain. And I'm saying something, but do your research if you want to know. Look, you can simply look up what's the difference between reading a book on paper and reading a book online digitally. It's a difference, and it's well researched. I just try to give y'all the conclusions. This y'all understand how I move. I don't try to bore y'all to death with the, oh, look at this and do that. Bottom line being, when I didn't appreciate reading, I just didn't even know the worth or value of it. What it does to my focus, what it does to my thinking. How when you read, right, already, you can like, oh my God, it's like it's like another form of meditation, bro. And then on top of that, oftentimes when you sit there and read a book, it'll slow you down enough to think about what you're reading and to think about your life. So already doing this is the type of mental space and clarity you need in order to change anything. Be stuck in the same position for their whole life, or miserable, or just stuck small-minded, and they can't see the bigger picture, and they can't think ahead because they don't think slow enough. They don't think slow enough. They just thinking too fast. Fast. Move. What's going on? New update, new post, new this, new that. Attention span short as hell. You gotta learn to think slow. That's a skill. I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. Reading Secrets of the Millionaire Mind really was the start of me changing my mind. Then I came back to watch you, Steve, and shit y'all was saying was clicking.